Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
And I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. And whether you're watching us live tonight or if you're listening to the podcast later on Spotify or one of the other channels that we broadcast to, we're really glad that you decided to be in our audience today.
Looks like we're having technical issues again tonight
with
Facebook. So if you're joining us on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter, sorry for the inconvenience there if you were trying to watch it on Facebook. Okay, this coming tomorrow evening, WDJY 99.1 FM in Atlanta will be broadcasting our episode at 9 o'clock Eastern Time with Gary Gies. And you can watch that online, www.wdjyfm.com. Also tomorrow night on our Tampa Bay Spirits Facebook page, in theory, or on our YouTube channel, Haunted Campfire Tales will be on at 7:30 Eastern Time.
Celebrating our 1-year anniversary with that.
Yeah, and hopefully we can iron out this problem with Facebook.
William Nelson said, "Good evening, Bill Nelson checking
Bill.
in. We're glad to have you back, Bill, and I'm glad that you're not trying to get in through Facebook."
Right.
But everybody else is, I know. So this is frustrating.
Right, it is very
Second
frustrating.
week in a row.
Yeah. Next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, right here, where you're watching right now, on live, it'll be author Vincent Panettiere. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but it sounds about right. We'll find out. And I don't have much else new. Oh, I did want to encourage those that are watching or listening from other countries, especially if you're just listening to the audio, obviously it's after the live presentation. If you have any comments or anything, go ahead and email us at carternovels@aol.com with your comments or suggestions. If there's something you want to hear authors talk about, or just want to say hi from wherever you are. So that's at any rate.
Marjorie Deering says it's like hide and seek, but I found you. Hi Marjorie.
Hi Marjorie.
This is just exactly what happened last week. We've been in touch with StreamYard. I don't know what we're going to have to do.
We have some work to do tomorrow.
I think maybe we'll go live tomorrow when we don't have a show and try and figure out what's going on.
Right.
But thanks for persevering, Marjorie.
Go on the laptop and figure it out probably. But at any rate, why don't we go ahead and bring in Randy.
Sounds like a good idea.
Our guest for the evening.
Hi.
Hello, Randy.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the circus.
I can tell you a lot of people right now are trying to find us. Like Marjorie said, it's like hide and seek, but she found us. It happened last week. None of the Facebook streams
reauthorized everything in between, and it's still doing it. So
we talked to
I'm not
StreamYard.
sure.
So, and StreamYard doesn't know whether it's a problem on their end or a problem on Facebook's end, but we'll see if we can figure it out.
I've worked in the tech field most of my life, and one of my biggest frustrations always was one side would always blame the other. It's not our problem, it's theirs, sir. And they would say the same thing. And usually you'd find it's usually a combination of both. But
yeah, Joe Conchel just said, hi, Rob and Joan, having an issue with Facebook again. I know, it's so frustrating, Joe. We've talked to StreamYard. We've done all the things they told us to do. I don't know whose fault it is, Facebook's or theirs, but yeah, we're going to have a talk with StreamYard again. It's frustrating.
And you can never get anybody at Facebook to talk to you, too. It's all...
no,
I don't think
StreamYard we can talk to.
I think it's all AI now.
Yep,
StreamYard we could talk to. You never could reach Facebook anyway, and they would never answer you back. So anyway, let's talk about you instead of our problems. Marjorie goes, yay to those of us who persevere, right, Joe? Yeah, I know. We can count on you guys to always find us. And Joe, I don't know if you heard, but we're having our 1 year anniversary show of a haunted campfire tomorrow night. So join us. It'll be fun. We won't have these problems. Hopefully we'll be able to. Oh my gosh. Robert White. Morning, guys. Good morning, Robert. How are you doing? So glad that you found us. And Joe Condell said, thank God you have multiple ways to get to you. Amen. Thank God for that. We're lucky that we can do that. So Robert's from Australia, Randy, in case you didn't know. That's why he said good morning, because it is morning. And Joe Condell said, I will be there. Yeah, good. We're doing that show about, do ghosts come back on the anniversary of their deaths? Spoiler alert. Not so much.
Just went on to Facebook and I can't get it to work. So it's a story for another day.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyway.
Onward.
So, Randy, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm a indie author, obviously, and I live out in Colorado and Westminster, which is a suburb in the northwestern part of the Denver area. In our lovely home here, we moved out here in about 4.5 years ago, and love where we moved to. Other than we're a little closer to the smoke and fires the last few years, which hasn't been a lot of fun. But
yeah,
but we've got my wife. She's actually in Salt Lake this week working, though she normally works from home. And my daughter now lives with us, and she lives in the basement, works from home. We got two dogs, and my daughter's got a spider and a gecko. And
was it difficult making the transition to the higher altitude living? You're from Des Moines, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa. I moved out here in '81. You do feel the altitude when you first get out here, and you're not used to it. Biggest thing they say, drink a lot of water and all those things. I'm pretty used to it now, but when you get into the really high places, we were talking earlier about Estes Park, and you go to Rocky Mountain National Park, and you can be as high as 12,000 feet there. You really feel it there in your lungs, and you definitely got to pace yourself. Getting older, when I was younger, it was much easier, but as you get older, it's definitely a lot more difficult. The one thing I do like about Colorado, as opposed to Des Moines, was the humidity is much less than in the Midwest. So everyone talks about the winters out here, and I'm going, winters here are nothing compared to the Midwestern winters. We get our moments, but most snow melts usually within a day or two here, even in the wintertime. And we get maybe one really bad cold snap, which we had a couple weeks ago. But
Joe Concha says, hi, Randy. What do you think of Helton getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame?
I actually used Helton in one of my previous books. Not him personally, but my private eye said he was Todd Helton to someone who didn't know better and use that. So I think it's great. You know, he's the first full-time Rocky to get into the Hall of Fame. Larry Walker got in, but he did not play for the Rockies his whole career. He played here, I don't remember how many years, but I think he was with the Expos and maybe the Mets. I can't remember for sure. Maybe it was the Yankees, and then the Rockies. But Helton, you know, he was here his whole career. So I think it's great. He's one of the legend baseball players, at least in this town. So
White said, we get the spiders and geckos running about the place free down this way in Australia. And he's doing well, getting fitted for his new leg this afternoon.
Oh, that's
Yay.
good.
Let us know
Awesome.
how that goes, Robert. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, well, we went, we told you part of our trip this summer, we were in Colorado and we went up Pikes Peak. And, that's 14,000 feet high. And the first time ever in my life, I got, what do you call it? I got altitude sickness.
We both did. Yeah.
Sure.
I've been up mountains my whole life.
Yeah,
Love mountain climbing. Yeah. And never
Blood
happened
pressure
to me
drops and
yeah. And we hired 2 Jeeps and went up. They drove us up and down and kind of pointed out all the sites so that none of us had to be driving. We could all see the view for a change. And they got very concerned.
Yeah, because we're old people.
We're old.
Yeah, they usually rush you back down to a lower altitude pretty quickly when that happens. So
they didn't.
They didn't?
Nope, I didn't want to go down.
Oh, okay.
I was at the top of Pikes Peak. I wasn't going to go down real quick.
We had to have the donuts, you know.
Yeah. Best donuts ever. Have you ever been to the top of Pikes Peak?
I have. Quite a few years ago.
You didn't buy any donuts at the donut shop?
I don't remember donuts, but maybe they were there.
Well, if you go up, you got to have a donut.
I mean,
they're incredible.
It's almost impossible to fry anything at that altitude and to get anything to rise, but they have a proprietary way of doing it. And so they were saying, oh, they're the best donuts. And we thought, yeah, right.
You're the only donuts.
You're the only donuts. You're the only food on top of Pikes Peak. Oh my gosh. I dream about them still. I mean, I would go to Pikes Peak right now if I could to get some donuts. They're amazing.
Yeah, when we went, we took the tram up there, the train that goes all the way up to the top.
Right.
So we ended up taking, and I know there's a gift shop and stuff and restaurants up there.
Yes. Yeah.
It's been a few years since we've been up there. We've had a lot of fires in Colorado. So,
yeah.
They had some in the Colorado Springs area and somewhere near, some of them were close to Pikes Peak. I don't think Pikes Peak was hit, but some of the areas there. But yeah, it's quite a trip up there, and you get up there, and there's snow up there, even if you're in the summertime.
Our grandkids were quite excited. There was still snow, but so we couldn't take the tram up. We had to drive.
Yeah,
because they don't let the dog on that.
I think they still do races up there too every year. I believe.
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do.
That would be a little hairy driving up there in a car.
Well, they pointed out the places where they went
off the road. Yeah.
There's no rails or anything in a lot of spots up there. So
there you go.
Oh, and it's not exactly a wide road either.
No. Well, a lot of tight turns.
I think the people that we're going to watch on Facebook have probably found their way over. So maybe we should talk about your writing a little bit. I think so too. You've got 2 series, Jarvis Mann detective novels and Divine Devils is the other one, right?
This is the first Jarvis Mann.
And there's...
Let me go through those.
How many are in the first one? The first series?
So there are 9.
Here we go.
Books. The first one is a short story. It's only about 8,000 words. That was kind of a simple introduction. A lost baseball card in a private eye is hired by a high school student. Someone stole it. It was an Ernie Banks card, so it was worth a lot of money. And I actually wrote that in the 80s, I think it was, way before the days of independent publishing. And still had it on a piece of paper, I think I typed it on an old typewriter. I mean, I had an old Coleco Atom computer, if you remember the old 8-bit computers of very early days. And I eventually put it on that, and I used AMI Pro as my word processor, if you ever remember that application. So, so I kind of revisited it. I got married and had a kid, and kind of my writing kind of got put on the back burner. That was really my priority.
Life got in the
now
way.
was to be a father and be a husband and stuff. And that was it. And I was working, making money, trying to, obviously like everyone else, paying mortgage and all those things. We moved into our first house the day after we got married. So, we got in, we dug right in right away, and then had a child, I think it was 2.5 years later. But I pulled that out, and, my wife had always read it, and she said, it's a really good story. And so I updated it and independently published it and got some people to read it. And they said, well, this Private Eye would make a good series. And I actually had an idea already that I'd kind of started and written down a little bit about a second book. And I kind of just went from there. And there've been 9, and I'm actually working on number 10 now. So.
Joe Conjal says, I've got that on my to be read list on my Kindle.
Thank you,
and
Joe.
Marjorie Deering said, better laminate it before it disintegrates.
Could be a museum piece someday, maybe, right? If you're lucky enough, get it in the Smithsonian or somewhere, right?
Yeah. Well, write an episode where he's at the Smithsonian or something. Maybe they will.
It'd be kind of like the National Treasure or whatever, the one where they stole the Declaration of Independence or whatever, and they've got all these things to keep it from deteriorating and everything.
Yeah, I enjoyed that movie very much. So you want to tell us a little bit about that series?
Jarvis Mann is the Private Eye, and he's kind of in the classic hard-boiled Private Eye genre. I've always enjoyed that. I was a big Robert B. Parker fan, loved the Spencer series. Just the classic Private Eyes. I always enjoyed all those, people, Mickey Spillane and all the really, really greats. And I always liked that genre. And I had my idea of a Private Eye in modern times, but, still your classic Private Eye. As I tell most people, he's got a snarky sense of humor. He is tough. He's a ladies' man, though his love life's always in a bit of a mess, which always seems to be, with these, a little bit of femme fatale in there and stuff. And then he's based in Colorado. So that, as always, was a big selling point for me when I have readers here. I put a lot of sights and sounds of Colorado along the Front Range area. And the first book, he helps a woman who's being stalked. And, lots of twists and turns and a little bit of humor. He gets his butt kicked a few times, as usual, a lot of Private Eyes do. Has a gun, but doesn't always like to use it, but will occasionally, he'll have to use it because he's going up against people with guns. So he preferred, but he uses his fists a lot. So, and he's kind of a little bit of a screw up at times too. He's not the perfect Private Eye. He makes a lot of mistakes. He's not a drinker and stuff, but he is a womanizer, especially in the early books. That gets him in trouble a lot of times. So he makes a lot of mistakes, but he fights hard for his clients, and gets the job done one way or another. Sometimes not always in the best way. It kind of goes in a roundabout way. And I like that he's very imperfect in a lot of ways, like we all are,
That's right.
More relatable, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, we all make mistakes.
Joe Conjal says, me too. Parker was awesome. Love Spencer. Yeah. And Joe has a Razman series that's similar.
Yeah, I've got all my Parker books back here on the bookshelf behind me. You probably can't see them on the camera here. I got paperbacks and stuff. But he passed away, I think, in 2010, and they've had Ace Atkins picked it up. And Ace did a pretty good job, but it's never the same voice when you have different authors. No matter how hard you try, everybody has their own voice writing. It's never the same.
Right.
And now it's been taken over by, and I'm blanking on his name, but he's a sports writer now, has taken over. And the other books have also been picked up by other people. But I didn't mind they continued, but I kind of wish maybe it had ended. I mean, with Robert B. Parker, you know, the character's getting older too. You know, the aging is always a difficult thing when you've been writing, because his first book came out, I think, in the early 70s, and he died in 2010. So really, Spencer, if you've ever seen the book jackets of Robert B. Parker, he was really Spencer. He had the dog that Spencer had and all that. So he really was Spencer in a lot of ways. And so when he passed away, I think he was 80 years old. So Spencer really should be 80 years old as well. So that's always the challenge in books too, is how do you age your characters or not age your characters?
Right.
And that's kind of one of those things that timelines are always interesting, because unfortunately we all do age, and we'd all do eventually die. I know I'm a big Michael Connelly fan, and Bosch is his big character, and he has Bosch now with lung cancer because he was a smoker, and he's dealing with that. So it's like, are you going to kill off that character? Maybe because he doesn't want anyone else to take over, because, you know, Michael's getting older too and stuff. So those are the real world things that authors sometimes write in. Your characters are not infallible. They do die. They do age.
Yeah.
Now is the time we need to take our first break. When we come back,
to the comments when we get back.
We'll get back with the comments. And you wanted to read a passage, I think, from one of your books, right? Still want to do that? So we'll go ahead and take our first break.
And we still need to talk about your second series.
Absolutely. Got a lot to talk about. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go away.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Now comes part 4 in the Jaguar series by retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. In this saga, Brandon, Andrea, and Naja, the Black Jaguar, go deep into the Mato Grosso jungle on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children. During their journey, they encounter many dangers, including Yanomami Indians, bent on revenge for the murder of one of their warriors.
Return of the Jaguar is book 4 in the Jaguar series, starting with 2 faces of the Jaguar, the Lost City, and the Jaguar's Quest. All 4 are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookseller websites worldwide. Return of the Jaguar is a must-read.
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. 2 new enemies await him in the small, coal-mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than 3-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
And we're back. And for those of you who are just listening to the audio, That last book is The Enigma Tracer by Brakefield and Berkey. It's available on Amazon. Okay.
Okay, Robert White says, age the characters with wrinkles and cold coffee. Or don't age them at all.
Right.
And Joe Conjo says, Mike Lupica.
Lupica. That was what I was trying to think of. Yeah, he was a sports writer, and he's written some novels. He actually did the Sonny Randall series as well for a little bit, and then that's been turned over to another person. But now he's taken over Spencer, and I believe Jesse Stone as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I like the Jesse Stone books a lot. All right.
Okay, so
what did you want to read from?
So I've got something from the Divine Retribution, which is the fourth and final book of the Divine Devils series, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So we'll see how I can do this reading. So that's always fun. But a little bit of context: he's a Hunter Divine. He's a former US Marshal, and in this book, he's on the run for a murder he didn't commit, and he's meeting with his estranged father, Horace, who claims he has information to help him at the burial site of his mother, Isadora. So lots of twists and turns there. So with breakfast devoured, Hunter drove off and arrived at the cemetery early. He parked several blocks away from where his mother's grave was and watched for anyone to arrive. Nothing he spied appeared out of the ordinary, which was good. He was being cautious, for he understood Horace's history of looking out only for himself. It wasn't long before a red BMW arrived and parked along a curb. Horace stepped out, dressed in black slacks and silk shirt, his violet tie blowing in the breeze. He walked to the grave, a bundle of flowers in his hand, which he placed to the side near the flowers Grace had previously left. He knelt to the ground and touched the stone. A good show he put on, or so Hunter thought. Hunter waited until 15 minutes after 11, then fired up his motorcycle and parked behind the luxury car. He went to where Horace knelt, kept his distance, and waited for him to stand. Horace wiped a tear from his cheek. Hunter never believed for a second his father had ever cried about anything, short of when the money ran out, and he worried about where the next female cash cow would come from. Your mother was a good woman, Horace said. She was a great woman, Hunter nodded, then scowled. Too great to be with a man like you. As I've told you many times, I loved Isadora with all my heart. Hunter made a fist. Save the propaganda. What was the big emergency that made you drive all the way to Houston? Did your rich widow finally learn you're a crooked gold digger and throw you out? I don't care for you calling me that, Horace. Horace took a step toward Hunter. I'm still your father. Show me some respect. Hunter didn't move. Stand back, old man, before I deck you. They were nearly nose to nose. A stare down, Horace knew he couldn't win. He stepped back and held up his hands. Fine, I came here to talk, not to fight. Hunter put his hands on his waist. I'm listening. I wanted to warn you, I received a call from a Colorado detective. Said you were in trouble and wondered if I knew where you were. Hunter pointed his finger at Horace. Did you squeal on me? Horace waved both his hands at Hunter. No, of course not. But I was concerned about what they told me. He leaned forward as if others were around to listen. They said you killed some woman, shot her dead in an apartment you were living in, and then split. Hunter glanced around and wondered if they were being watched. Not that it matters to me what you think, but I'll flat out tell you right now I didn't kill Nicole. Is that the truth? Absolutely. I cared for her. Hunter tapped his chest with his fist. People who paid the man to kill her wanted me to run. Said if I didn't, they'd kill others I cared for. Wow, I didn't know. Seems like a bad situation. Maybe you should talk with the police to get it ironed out. I didn't think I'd get the benefit of a doubt from them because of my darker skin tone. Hunter tapped his forearm with his finger. And since when are you a fan of the police? Horace blinked twice. I'm not. I'm just saying. Maybe you should go to them and clear your name. I like my chances of ironing out the situation on my own. Horace frowned. How would you be able to resolve the situation? By using the skills I have to get answers, which I can't do behind bars. Horace paused to contemplate what to say next. You know the old saying, only guilty men run. Horn tensed up. Are you saying you don't believe me? Horace gritted his teeth. gestured with his hands. Not really. I see how angry you are and wonder if you could have killed her. You appear to be a passionate man with violent urges. Hunter was passionate and had done violent acts, especially since coming back to the world from his downtrodden days. But he wasn't about to admit this to the man for whom he had no respect. As usual, you're dead wrong, Horace. I have no more time to waste on you. Hunter started to walk away when Horace went to grab his arm. Wait, Hunter, or they might shoot you. Hunter yanked his arm loose, not thrilled Horace had touched him. What the hell are you talking about? They have a gun pointed at you. You need to give yourself up. Hunter looked around and saw a man walking toward him, gun in hand, pointed at his chest. What the hell did you do, Horace? Hunter yelled. Horace took a step back. I'd put your hands in the air. Hunter, I'd do as he said, called out the man with the gun. Who the hell are you? Detective Green with the Broomfield, Colorado Police. We were listening in. We were taking you in for questioning about the murder of Nicole Hardy. Hunter put his hands up while glaring at Horace. You SOB, were you wearing a wire? Horace instinctively itched at his shirt. Damn tape holding it to my chest is itchy. They had to shave some of my hair off. Why would you help them arrest your son? Son, Horace laughed. You made it clear a long time ago I'm not your father. Why the hell should I consider you to be my son? He moved closer. The Hardy family put out a $25,000 reward for the arrest of the person who killed your daughter. Horace rubbed two fingers together. I'm only in it for the payday. Hunter groaned. Nothing new there, but I'd hate to disappoint you and Detective Green, but I didn't kill Nicole. Arresting me is a fool's errand. While a car pulled up and a door opened, Green moved closer. Another detective stepped out, his gun pointed at Hunter. We'll find out in time. Green lowered his gun. Once we get you back to Colorado, we can sort all of this out. Then I guess I'll give you something worth arresting me for. Horace had remained close to Hunter, well within striking distance. In a flash, Hunter lowered his right hand and popped Horace in the nose, knocking him backward and down to the ground. Blood flowed down his face, the direct punch inflicting damage. No more words would come out of his mouth to anger Hunter, for he was out cold. Hunter's hand was immediately back up, happy the other officer hadn't shot him. He spit the ground and then smiled. I told you I'd deck you, old man, if you screwed with me, and I'm a man of my word, which I sure as hell couldn't say about you. It was the only happy moment Hunter would have to reflect on for the next several days.
Wow. That was really good.
Really good.
That surprised me.
Me too.
It's always tough to read and pick out a section out of your book. And I was looking at stuff and, trying to keep it not too long and everything. And I did have to clean up a few of the words in there as well. I mentioned that my books are fairly gritty, so there is some street language in there and some profanity and all that, just because of the world that in this series, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But Hunter Divine is in deep with some bad against some bad people.
Marjorie Deering says, great back and forth between them, very believable and definitely intriguing.
Yeah, you could
for real.
You could feel it building the whole time.
Yeah, but I still didn't expect his dad to have turned him in. That
was like,
that
what?
shocked me.
His dad is a bit of, as they say, a gold digger, and we mentioned the old Temptation song, "Father Was a Rolling Stone," and that story and stuff. So that kind of, his father is kind of one of those that's always out there to try to make money and everything, and Hunter was always bitter about his father and the life and leaving him, and unfortunately he didn't really want anything to do with him. He has to track him down in this book to figure out about this conspiracy that's going on that kind of runs through this whole series, which I won't give too many spoilers.
No, please don't. William Nelson said, I could definitely feel the animosity. Yes. And Joe Conjal said, loved it, hooked me in. And Paul Rushworth Brown says, hello from Sydney.
Paul.
Better late than never. Glad that you.
Always better late than never, right?
Sorry, we're having trouble with Facebook, Paul. I'm sure that's what happened. Yes, you could feel the animosity and you could feel it build. And it was really good. It was a good section to read.
Yeah.
It was a good hook.
So that's
I mean, I think this series is definitely very intense. I get a lot of people can't put the book down and all that, and
yeah, I have to see what happens.
yeah, and that final book, I kind of end things. And I was telling you this the other day. The final book, Divine Retribution. I had one of the events I was doing. A lady came up to me, and she's a fan of my books, and she looks at me and she says, "I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you." And I go, "What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?" And she says, "You're ending that series. I don't want it to end." And it was like that. So, well, it was time to move on to something else. I felt it was a good way to end the series. I kind of wrapped everything up, but you never know. Something could bring the Divine Devils back, which is a team. A lot of people think it's it's a supernatural book and all that, and no, it's just a pure thriller. Hunter Divine, and they kind of come up with the moniker at the end of the book, the Divine Devils, because they're doing divine work for their clients, but they have to cross lines against bad people and do bad things to get the job done sometimes, and that's kind of where the name came from, and that's kind of where I don't usually start with a title, but that one, the title was kind of where I came up with. I thought the Divine Devils sounded like a good moniker, and all the books are the Divine Devils Chapter 2, Fallen Star and Sold Souls and all that. And then I kind of just built it with there. I knew it was going to be a former US Marshal, and to be the team he puts together in the first book, and a very cross section of people in his team. He has a female, Athena. He has a biker, Cameron. Shen, who's a martial arts expert, who's gay. We have a military man, Kyoki, who lives in Hawaii, and he hates technology, even though he worked in technology when he was in the military. And a lot of bad guys that build and show through the whole series. And then there's a big conspiracy on why Hunter's a former U.S. Marshal that kind of carries over through the whole series, and then comes to a big conclusion in the final book.
Well, none of us are expecting to get rich writing, right?
We wish,
but
we hope, we dream.
The payday really is when one of your readers comes up to you like they did, and they're so invested in your storyline, in your storytelling, that they don't want it to end. They don't want it to end, and they express that to you. That's a payday right there, man. That's a jackpot. Really
absolutely is. And that's where you figure you're gripping those people. And I know when I'm writing my books, I'm very much a pantser. I start and I kind of just have a general idea, but I just kind of let the story write itself. But sometimes you write and it goes, is it really turning out well? And how's it is. You read it yourself, and it may work with you, but does it work with other people and stuff? Right. And so you get your beta readers reading, and I'm doing that right now with a new book. But that is the payday, as you say, that you always want people to hopefully are invested, and sometimes they get mad at you when you kill off characters too. So that's it. That's another thing. Why could you kill that person off? Oh man, they were so good. Well, if it was sci-fi, you could bring them back, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, time travel. Paul Rushworth Brown says, I'm interested to see an African American as the main character. No racism intended. I am writing a book where one of the main characters is Aboriginal. Did you have any cultural issues to research? Which actually, I was going to ask that question, not maybe as well spoken as that. Just is it difficult for a white man to write a black man? But
yeah, obviously it can be, because we don't go through the same things, obviously. You hate to say that there's racism in the world, but there is. But
there is.
I did do a lot of research on that, and I do have some black friends who could relate and give me information as well about maybe what they go through, getting pulled over and being nervous about that and stuff. And I do write a lot of that in the book. That does come up. And I mentioned it there when I was reading there about the color of his skin. That's why he didn't really necessarily always trust the police, even though he was a U.S. Marshal. He has some concerns because he did lose his job because of an issue. And basically the issue was he was guarding a senator's son, and someone assassinated the son, and he got blamed. And then he finds out, and then he's like, well, I did everything I could. This guy shot him from long distance. What could I do other than take the bullet for him? And I didn't know it was necessarily coming. But there's a big conspiracy there. But yes, I think those cultural things, and I try to do that. I try to have a big cross section of characters in all my books. I have a lot of, I have some of my earlier books. The women were more the femme fatale, but I do have some very tough female characters as well. I think one of my biggest complaints with Hollywood is they don't do police officers. Female police officers are always these skinny little rails. And if you've seen most female police officers, they're not skinny little rails. They've got a little bit of bulk to them. They work out. They have to be strong enough and stuff. And I always find in Hollywood, they got to be pretty and looking, and they're skinny, and they're running around in heels. How can you chase a bad guy in heels, right? It's like...
I always appreciate the ones where they have the female officers running around in sensible shoes. Joe Conjal says Patterson does a good job with that, with his Alex Cross character. Yes,
that's true.
And I was thinking of Tony and Ann Hillerman do a really good job about writing from the Navajo perspective. Paul Rushworth Brown said, I actually have to write away to the Aboriginal tribe to get permission. So,
well,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Especially where the history is concerned. Yeah, for sure. We need to cut away for our last break here. And when we come back, we're going to tell everybody where they can reach you and talk about some of the things you've got coming up.
Yep, because he has many more things coming down the
yes.
pipeline.
So we'll be right back. Don't go away, folks.
It's every parent's worst nightmare. Police officer Madison Jackson awakes to discover her baby kidnapped from her crib. Was it revenge for someone she arrested, or something far more sinister? Madison's estranged husband is incarcerated in Supermax. As the second in command of a deadly Mexican cartel, did he issue the order to abduct their daughter? Bye, Baby, Bye, from author Kelly Marshall. Get your copy today.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
Step into the captivating world of skullduggery, where a family of isolated peasant copyholders finds themselves thrust into a web of danger that threatens their very existence. Set against the tumultuous backdrop of the English Reformation, this meticulously researched historical mystery unfolds with a cast of both lovable and despicable characters, immersing you in a fully realized world that's both utterly believable and fantastically unbelievable. Author Paul Rushworth Brown weaves a spellbinding narrative that transports you to Yorkshire, England, in the 16th and 17th centuries, offering an authentic and gritty portrayal of peasant life. The pages come alive with vivid descriptions, crafting an atmosphere that pulls you deeper into a story of crime, murder, and suspense like no other.
Hi, I'm Paul Rushworth Brown, author of Skullduggery, Red Winter Journey, and Demon Courage, just recently released. I hope you enjoy Skullduggery, the second edition. Cheers.
And we're back. And Paul Rushworth Brown says, I love a good, strong female character, especially as an antagonist. Yep. And Marjorie Deering had said, "Watch out, sounds like a misery situation." Just kidding. Yeah.
Hopefully not.
No.
I
Nobody.
don't want to steal from Stephen King. He's got better lawyers than I do. So.
Oh, gee, right. No. You wouldn't want to steal from Stephen King.
No.
Well, he does his own thing anyway. So does Patterson. I mean, I think Alex Cross is probably one of my favorite characters that he does.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to write his own books anymore. He just puts his name and he co-writes with everybody. It seems like every time I see there's a new one, he's got a different co-writer. They work with. So I don't know how much he actually writes anymore.
I don't think he writes those. I think he does the outline and then they do all the writing, and you can tell the difference. I don't like those books as much as I like the ones that he wrote himself.
Yeah. But he's making lots of money. So you're talking about money and stuff and authors and things. It's like, we hope, we dream, all that. And I know most people I talk to that want to write, and I say, do it because you love it. Don't do it because you're going to get rich at it. If you're lucky enough to get rich at it, great. But do it because you enjoy it.
It's different than it was years ago too, where people could make pretty good money at it. Yeah, there are a lot more books available now because there's so much indie publishing. So
a lot of competition.
A lot of competition, and a lot of it is good competition. So, a lot of good books. When we started writing, there were 1 million books on Amazon. There are now over 32 million on Amazon. So
it's amazing. Anybody can find you. There's so many.
That's why we do this.
Yeah.
Paul Rushworth Brown says, "Love you, Robin Joan. Love the show. Congratulations, Mr. Weir." Yeah. Thanks, Paul. Well, so you want to tell us about your other, the other things that you have coming down the pipe?
Yeah. So I'm working on a new book in the Jarvis Mann series. Murder by 100 Cuts is the title of it right now. And it's kind of a follow-up to my serial killer book, the Front Range Butcher, which was one of my award winners. It won best reader's favorite, made it best psychological thriller of 2019, which was a very nice award. I couldn't go to Florida to accept the award, so they had to have them mail it to me and stuff. So I didn't get to go to that award ceremony, but that was really a nice surprise. I first read that and I go, wow, they had me as the best book of the year as a psychological thriller. But that one there is going to deal a little bit with the trial of the butcher. It's going to be like 3 years later, and COVID has kind of become involved in this series because, how it is the court systems. A lot of them have gotten backed up and things and all that. And he had a different lawyer and all that. So 3 years later, they're finally coming to court, and the private eye. I was just writing some court scenes where he's testifying and stuff. And my beta reader just got back to me today, and I was worried about, was it too long, too lengthy? I have a friend who's a judge, and he gave me a lot of insight into court proceedings, which a lot of it's boring. You got to cut out the boring stuff. If you leave in everything that happens, nobody would ever read it. But
nope.
But she told me she thought it had at least those parts I had written had come out good. And it was a little bit difficult because it's a first person. The Jarvis Mann is the classic hard-boiled private eye, so it's through his eyes. So really, of the trial itself, we're only seeing it when he testifies, is that part, though we'll hear about a little bit people testifying before that, but we won't actually see that part. So that was a little bit of a challenge doing it, but hopefully it came out pretty well. And then he gets challenged by the defense lawyer on the stand, and there's the interaction and all that, and hopefully it'll come out well. But I'm hoping I'm about 80%. I've got 100 and almost 20,000 words written right now, I think, and we're getting close to the end. I figure it's going to run in that 140, 150 range, which is where most of my books have gone the last few years. My books started small and have gotten bigger and bigger because I've gotten such much more complicated plots and have a lot of
Joe Conjal says that's a great title. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good title. Murder by 100 Cuts.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out how the cover's going to be. I have a cover artist and stuff, and she's great. I kind of give her an idea, and she kind of runs with it, and we'll see it. But that'll be those are always the challenges too, is coming up with the right cover that works with the story. Not too much on there, but not too little. The Butcher book was pretty obvious with when you had it up there, but you've got that's the Denver skyline there, and the name, the Front Range Butcher, that's, they like to give serial killers their name. And that was what they called him. The press called him. And the reason why was the way he killed his victims. And so in that book, it was 20 years ago it happened, 16 people killed. They never caught him. 22 years later, the murders start up again. Is the same killer. That was with that book and all that. And there's a lot of interaction between my private eye and the person who he thinks is the serial killer. A little bit Silence of the Lambs, like, where Clarice and Hannibal are going back and forth with each other, though a little more antagonistic than theirs. Theirs was almost...
Yeah, weirdly friendly.
Yeah, it was weirdly friendly a little bit. Yeah, like kind of spooky, like, and of course he at the end, he actually liked her, and it's like, I'm going to leave you, and I'm not going to bother you. You don't have anything to worry about. I'm not going to hurt you. That definitely isn't between my private eye and who he thinks is a serial killer. So but that book will kind of hopefully wrap up that storyline, and going from there.
Is it the same cover artist for both series?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. So
see,
I've had actually a few different cover artists through the years. She's done all the Divine Devils covers.
Yeah.
And then she's done, I think since Dead Man Code in the Jarvis series, she's been my cover artist.
Now, I love the way she draws him,
Well, it's interesting. The first book, when we did that's actually a white guy, she said, that she found a picture of and darkened his skin, and because she thought it worked well. He had the good look. A lot of people say Shamar Moore from SWAT looks like him.
Looks like that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That is who it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not him though. No, don't sue me, please, sir. Not you. We didn't steal your picture. But a lot of people say, yeah, they think it's him, and I go, well, if they ever make a movie, sure, I'd take him.
Let's tell people where they can reach you. You want to read that?
Yeah, the website is www.rweir.net. That's RWEIR.net. And if you want to send him, and on that website, there's links to all your books and all your
social
media, and probably, is there a blog on there as well?
Yeah, there's a blog and there's a newsletter you can sign up for. And I do give away a free ebook if people sign up for the newsletter. So please do. The first book in the Jarvis Mann series, The Case of the Missing Bubblegum Car, is already free on Amazon. So as an ebook. So anyone, and people can also purchase books directly from my website. There's a little form you can fill out and buy books. And I have pretty reasonable shipping costs and all that. And I do sign all the books. You can buy them direct from Amazon too. But if you want a signed book, you can always buy them direct from me.
Yeah. That's better.
It's worthwhile.
And
they can contact me through that email address.
Yeah. Email is author@rweir.net. And it's just like it was a minute ago on your website. R Weir, RWEIR.net. So
that's great.
There we go.
All right. And do you have anything else coming down the line?
Yeah. So I have since I wrapped up the Divine Devil series, I was thinking about a new series, and it's still kind of in the early stages yet. I've kind of written a little bit of a beginning to it and stuff, but it's going to be about a former Westminster police officer who's now a widower. His wife died from cancer, and he's traveling the country in a motorhome, and he writes a blog about, his life as a police officer, and it's kind of his therapy, he says, to write the blog about things. And he'd gotten frustrated with a murder that never was solved about a young child who was killed. And so he, people contact him through the blog, and he starts investigating cold cases. Is what
That's
the premise
pretty
is.
cool.
That is cool.
So, but he'll be in a motorhome. He'll live in a motorhome. He sold his house, and he rides a motorcycle. He's got a sidecar, and he has a police dog that he had trained because he had worked in the department. He'd done everything, being a street cop, detective, worked in SWAT, worked in K9. I mean, he did everything, which is, I did the Westminster Police Academy, and that's generally most of the officers have done. Do go through and do a lot of different things in that police force. So it's a fairly common thing for them. So
that's really cool.
Well,
great idea.
Right here, we have to say goodbye to the folks that are listening to us on Atlanta.
Right.
What's the radio station?
WDJY 99.1 FM in Atlanta.
All the rest of you stay put. We're not leaving here. We're just leaving the Atlanta